So we can just
That's good.
kick off right now. Thank you so much for it's a great privilege for me for having you join this live session. Um, my name is Temitope Adeyemi, Coach Temi, and I'll be moderating the live session for today. So while I was preparing for this, I have several questions before me. But before I go into that, I'm sure that most people on this live session know exactly who you are. But for some people living under the rock, I want to ask you to give a brief introduction of yourself, mostly what people might not know about you. Is that possible, sir, in the next 1 minute?
Okay, thank you so much, Temi, and I want to thank those who are joining us from wherever, I'm sure from all over the world. Well, my name is Pascal Dike. Um, well, I'm passionate about leadership. I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I'm passionate about communication. And everything that I do when it comes to people and organizational development revolves around these three. And that's why I would say in our organization that our job is to ensure excellence in communication, entrepreneurship, and leadership whenever we engage our clients. I have been an entrepreneur for about 8 years plus, but I've been in business for about 13 years. So you can understand when I say I've been in business for 13 years, but I've been an entrepreneur for about 8 years. That means there's a difference between just running a business and becoming an entrepreneur, right? And I have had the privilege of traveling around the world, particularly when I served as GCI president, GCI Junior Chamber International in 2016. And I had the opportunity to meet people, spoken on, to large audiences around the world. I have conducted trainings. I have led learning and development sections, in different parts of the world. And all I can say is what I focus on doing now is to see how I can continually translate those experiences, to the benefit of people who would need it. So tell me, I don't need to go too deep, but basically that's who I am. I am a coach. I am a charge to action expert. I like to get people to do things. And procrastination is one of the biggest issues in the world. So part of what I do is to charge people and give them enough reasons to move away from their inertia and take action. So I'll leave it there for now.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. I have your profile before me, and I feel that if I should read out your profile, it will take another 15 minutes to read out your profile. But thank you for compressing it into that short one you just gave. Thank you so much. So today we have a topic before us, which is navigating entrepreneurial pitfalls. So I would like you to speak to this from your wealth of experience and exposure. What does it mean to navigate entrepreneurial pitfall? Are there pitfalls? Can they be seen before you start your entrepreneurial journey, and how do you handle them? Can you speak to this, sir?
Thank you very much again. Well, whether there are pitfalls, the answer is yes. And every entrepreneur out there will tell you that there are pitfalls. And I'm not talking about people who inherit businesses and run them. I'm talking about entrepreneurs who are innovative, who are curious, who are creative, who exercise courage, and what I call daring and bearing. They will tell you there are pitfalls. But our topic today, like you said, is navigating entrepreneurial pitfalls. So what does it mean to navigate? Is to find a way around it, to overcome, right? To bypass, to find a solution, to deal with challenges before you. And that's navigating. And what are pitfalls? Pitfalls are difficult moments, difficult situations, challenging situations, right? And when you embark on an entrepreneurial journey, there will be difficult moments. There will be impediments and obstacles. Now, I love the question you asked, if it's possible to see this pitfall before you start. Yes, it's possible to see them, and you only see them from the experiences of others, right? If you know people who have gone through that journey, they can share with you what they experienced on their journey of entrepreneurship. And then it gives you a hindsight or a foresight to be able to say, okay, if these persons have gone through it before and these were their experiences, then I must do my best not to go through the same. But you see, when we talk about pitfalls, I'm particular about the pitfalls you encounter along your journey of entrepreneurship. Because it doesn't matter how fantastic your plan is, it doesn't matter how beautiful your business plan is, it doesn't matter how well you've crafted your vision. Every entrepreneur should make provisions for the unexpected. And I say this all the time. I've got my hands burnt several times, in my entrepreneurial experiments. But one thing I have learned is getting into any venture, it doesn't matter how fantastic my plan is, I anticipate the worst case scenario. So I imagine what could go wrong on this journey. And then after imagining it, I try to, carve out some solutions and say, if and when this happens, what are you going to do? And what that helps me do is it presents, a good shock absorbing system so that when you encounter those challenges, you're not being taken unawares. It's not like you didn't think about it. So you had imagined it, you had anticipated, you had planned for it. So when it happens, it's just, oh, bingo, I thought about it. And this is it. So you wouldn't waste so much time thinking what to do because you already planned what you're going to do if and when it happens, right? So definitely there are pitfalls. And like I said, before you start your entrepreneurial journey, you must learn from those who have gone through that experience. But there are some other unexpected impediments and pitfalls that you meet on the road that you must find a way to take care of. And it's part of what we're going to talk about today, basically.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I will just allow you dive down and dive deep into the topic and expand as much as possible. I'm sure I'm so much pumped up about this topic, being a business person also. So I'll just give the floor to you so that you can dive deep and go into the topic properly, sir.
Thank you very much again, Demi. Like I said, there is a difference between being an entrepreneur and just running a business. So when we talk about entrepreneurs or entrepreneurship, these are people who exclusively conceive an idea, research the idea around a challenge or a problem, and go ahead to proffer a solution to the that the primary objective is to solve the problem, and then the profit of the commercialization of the solution comes later, right? So entrepreneurs are driven, are motivated by the challenges that they encounter or they see in the business world, and they think about how to find a solution to it. Now, it's a bit different from someone who inherits a business or who just decides, okay, this is ongoing business. I just want to go into it and make money and then walk away. I don't care whether a proper solution is provided or not. For example, if you're into sales, you sell your product, the money comes in, you smile to the bank, and that's all you're interested in, right? It's a bit different from the entrepreneurship. So when we ask the question, what are some of the that helps you identify this person as an entrepreneur? First is innovation. Entrepreneurs are very innovative. They come up with fantastic new ideas or improve so much of existing ideas, right, in a way that it looks as though it's a new one. Entrepreneurs are very curious persons, right? When they want to get into something, they want to get to the bottom of it. They're curious, they want to find out what's there. If you say there is something behind the wall and people are not willing to dare to break the wall and get to what that is, the entrepreneur wants to do it, wants to know what's happening there. The entrepreneurs are creative. They think of diverse ways, right, to be able to find a solution to a particular change. The entrepreneur is a courageous person, what I describe as the spirit of daring and daring. I must understand that as an entrepreneur, when you're there, is that moment you make up your mind that you want to launch a business, right? As an entrepreneur, that is when you're daring. But daring is, are you able to stay the course? Are you able to stay persistent even when it becomes challenging? That is the bigger part. And that's why, as you know, that 80% of entrepreneurial endeavors or businesses, die within the first 5 years. I've seen individuals who start, like 3-4 business in 5 years. They put their hands, this one is not working, they jump to another one. Then you are not an entrepreneur, right? The entrepreneur understands that there will be pitfalls, there will be challenges, and you go along. The entrepreneur is someone who is motivated, who is persistent, who is driven by passion because of providing a solution. You feel good about it, and then what comes out of that is what comes. So are some of the qualities that you will see in an entrepreneur. But you must understand that entrepreneurship has been categorized. I mean, there are different types, right? So you have entrepreneurs who are just running a small business, very small business, that are alone or with a handful of employees, 3, 4 employees, right? You also have entrepreneurs who are running what we call innovative businesses. This is business where they research and they come with a novel idea that is fresh and new and groundbreaking. These are innovative entrepreneurs. You also have entrepreneurs who work for corporations, right? And now they may not own the business themselves, but they have the entrepreneurial mindset, right? And they bring that entrepreneurial mindset to the corporation, they have the business of the corporation to grow. I mean, big corporations. They also have entrepreneurs who run what's called scalable businesses, right? They start small, but they have a plan, how to scale it up in the next 2 years, next 3 years, the next 5, next 6 years. So these are types of entrepreneurs. Then you also have what we call the social entrepreneur, right? Whose sole motive is for the social good, for a greater good. Now, they are not motivated by the benefits. They are not motivated by profit. They are not motivated by the name or the breakthroughs. They are motivated by finding a solution that will help the world. There are few entrepreneurs today, social entrepreneurs, who are doing things around environmental sustainability, protecting the environment, right? There are entrepreneurs who are finding solutions to water problems, hygiene issues. These are entrepreneurs. Now, they are purely motivated by greater good. So these are types of entrepreneurs that we have. But let's dive deep down proper. We're talking about navigating entrepreneurial pitfalls, okay? And now I'm going to speak to some of these pitfalls and how we can navigate them. I want to start with something I consider very, very important. And that is, before you start your entrepreneurial journey, before you launch your business, you must first validate your ideas. Okay? You must validate validate your ideas. Now, you have a fantastic business plan. You've thought about everything that you want to do, but you must be able to understand your catchment area, what customers you're going to serve, right? Understand the needs of these customers, and then go out there to do a research, do a survey, group discussions, and test this out first and see how these potential customers or clients receive the product before you launch it. And I can give you a personal experience. In 2017, there was a business opportunity that came, and we quickly put together a comprehensive business plan, right? We went to some of the customers just to say, oh, we're coming into this area of business, I'll be more than happy to serve you. But one thing we did not do, we did not ask their opinions. What are their needs? What are the experiences they've had in the past? How do they want to be served better? We didn't ask those questions. We went on, we started bringing in the product, and a few persons picked up the product. But some of those products stayed with us for 7 months, 8 months, and we didn't sell them because we were just interested in selling these products and getting the money. And that was a very big challenge. So it's important to validate your ideas. And the only way to do that is to test the idea, test the product, test the service with your potential clients and see how they receive it. That helps you to go back and say, okay, are you going to review a few of your strategies, or are you good to go? That's number one. So validate your ideas. The other thing I want to talk about is diversifying prematurely, right? Part of what happens is you start a business as an entrepreneur, great idea, great business, and you see that it's going so fast, so well, everything is moving great, the funds are coming in, solutions are provided, you're having, large number of customer base, everybody say, oh, fantastic. And then you think in your head and say, wow, if this product is moving like wildfire, then we need to diversify. And then you start putting your hands you start expanding it. So let's say, for example, you are providing e-commerce, solution. And they say, oh, from providing e-commerce solution, I want to sell the products itself proper. And then from selling the products, you say, oh, okay, I want to do the logistics. And then from there, you say, well, I want to train those who work in that industry. There's nothing wrong in thinking that way, but you should not diversify prematurely. Otherwise, you have your hands torn. what happens is your energy is dissipated to a lot of places, and then you move away from being an expert in your area. You move away from having a niche for yourself into doing quite a lot of things. And what happens is, because the money is coming in from there, but your focus is moved away. And the moment one or two of those areas stop functioning properly, you will struggle to come back to your primary business. So people must learn to, first of all, stabilize, have a niche, create a brand, create a name, and then train people that can run the business sustainably before you think about is poor cash flow, right? Again, I'm going to use myself as an example. When we start, is a very dangerous pitfall, because most entrepreneurs are not able to separate their personal finances from the business finances, right? And I'll give you an example of part of what I was doing. Maybe I'm driving on the road and I'm going for a meeting, and I get a call from the office. Oh, we need to procure this product right away, right? And I think, okay, the accountant might not be available. I just do a transfer from my phone, and say, okay, just go ahead and get it. And then when we try to reconcile, it's either I don't have the proper record or things go wrong. I ask for a refund. At some point, the company that we were running was owing me so much money. I lost track of it, and then there was a bit of confusion because it was not profitable. So the cash flow is important. You must be able to monitor your income, the revenue you get, versus your expenses. And one way to do that properly is to have some basic knowledge around, financial statement, basic financial literacy. But to go furthermore is to get an accountant or get a financial expert to help you do that. That is very important. Although if you keep mixing it up, one day you might just wake up and realize you do not have capital to continue to run your business. And you can see money coming in and out, but you cannot keep track of it. So cash flow management is very, very important for every entrepreneur. Otherwise, you could go under even less than 5 years. So we must, as much as possible, ensure that we avoid that. The other thing is most entrepreneurs come up with great ideas and vision, right? You have a vision for the business, you have a business plan. And because of a crave, one particular sector of business is blossoming so much, and people are making money, and everyone says, oh, it's doing great. I remember once I was tempted. I was almost going to jump into real estate because real estate was making money. And that was not part of the vision when we started our business. To be honest, it was not part of it. And I saw the way people were just making money. I said to myself, maybe, to be honest, we registered another company, a real estate company. But at some point, I had to call myself to order. I had to learn some discipline and say, no, it's not something you should jump into right now. I had to go back to the vision of our company and the business plan that we had. And I said to myself, you don't need to jump into that. So people deviate completely from the original vision. If you need to do that, they have to go back, review, right, and then come up with a fresh vision that accommodates that and agree on how you want to proceed. You cannot be jack of all trades. The real estate is doing very well, you jump in there. And the next day is, robotics is doing so well, I say, I want to do it. AI, oh, wow, that's what I want to do. We jump in. And by the time you start doing that, you realize that you move away from the greater vision of the organization. And one dangerous thing that does, it creates confusion in the mind of your team members, the employees. Because an entrepreneur, when you have people you work with, one great thing you must do is to key them into the larger vision of your company, of the organization. And then they follow the key in and they understand it. But the moment you start jumping from one sector to the other one area, you confuse them, right? Now, you begin to use people in places where they don't fit. You have employed them as round pegs in round holes. But when you start stretching them so much, you want to use round holes, in square, round pegs in square holes, and it's not going to work. So we must avoid that. The other thing that is important I want to talk is what I call personal biases, right? When you bring personal biases to your marketing. And let me explain what that is. So let's say you've come up with a great idea, a great business. You've seen this product. and you are attached to the product, you have a connection to the product, you're passionate about the product because it is your product, it's your idea, so you feel excited about it. You are convinced within yourself that this product is going to do so well in the market. You've done all the researches, you've crossed all the T's and dotted the I's, and you say, wow, this is the brainchild of my effort. You feel very proud about it, right? And then you're putting it out. But one dangerous thing about biases, to marketing is when you think for yourself how you appreciate the product, it is dangerous for you to also think for the customer. So you are now telling the customer how the customer should appreciate the product, how the customer should receive the product, right? That is dangerous. So when you come up with those great ideas and products, right, you must actually see it from the perception and perspective of the customer. What does the product do to the customer? And that's why they say these days, you don't sell products, you sell emotions, right? It's the emotions. What is the customer's response to the product? What is the customer's response to the service? That's what you should be looking at. You cannot sit down and have expectations of how the customer should respond to your product because you love the product, because you attach the product. That's not correct. In fact, that can build a brick wall, a very brick wall between what you're providing and the customer can just switch and turn away. So it's important for you to allow the customer, right, after you've done your job, to appreciate the product, right? Walk into the emotions of the customer and let the customer understand what could happen if the product is not available for the customer. The customer does not buy the product, but the customer will make his or her decision. It's not up to you to tell the customer how to perceive, the product that you are presenting. Now, let me talk about something very important, and I've seen people make comments about this, what we call burnout, right? This is actually important. And now, like I said, today, I'm not going to give examples from other persons because I have suffered these things, and it's important that I speak from my personal experience. A long time ago, when I was a young person, believe me, I used to write proposals, business plans for people and companies and get paid for it. Right, so sometimes I can start by 9 p.m. on a particular proposal and I work overnight till 5 a.m. right, and I deliver a 15-page proposal. And when the clients get it, they say, oh wow, fantastic. Now then I was very young, right? I had a lot of energy, a lot of idea, bustling with great creativity and innovation. But I wasn't thinking so much about the consequences, the aftermath. Right. And now what happens when you do a lot without using people? Either you stay late at night because you want to satisfy customers, you want to do everything because you think you're so passionate about the business. One thing we must understand is if today you drop dead, I'm not praying for that, or you become incapacitated, you become sick that you cannot go to the office for 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, the business will even run or die, and those customers will go somewhere else. So it is important for us to avoid burnout. And one way to avoid burnout, I'll say 2 ways. First is you must train your team to be able to act in your absence. Then you must be willing and ready to delegate. Some of us do not trust the team to work. I used to tell people that when you lead, I'm not saying when you manage, please, I'm choosing my words. When you lead, not when you manage, you must allow your team members to experiment. You must allow them to fail in certain things, not fundamental matters. You must give them free hands to try a few things, and then you do your monitoring from a distance and see how they perform. So intermittently you come in to check on them, and that way you're preparing them for future responsibility, so that when you are not there, they are able to do that. We run a company today called Dega Multi-Concept, and I can tell you for a fact that for the first 3 to 4 years of that company, I prepared proposals, I prepared quotations, I prepared invoices, right? Everything was just revolving around me, and it was going to kill me. Because sometimes I realized you come home late at night around 9 p.m., you're tired, and the next morning you're struggling to get up and go to the office. And then when you get to the office, you become very unproductive and inefficient. And then you can imagine the consequences of that. So what I've learned is I have a general manager today who he can prepare the proposal, he can prepare the quotation, he can prepare the invoices, the way bills he delivers, he calls the clients, he negotiates, with our suppliers, everything. So I can comfortably not go to the office, for a whole week, and he's taking responsibility because I learned from that burnout experience. And what another thing the burnout can do, it can affect your health, right? Apart from being unproductive, it can affect your health. And if you break down today, believe me, you cannot do anything. No, in November 2023, was it 2023? I came back from the World Congress, right, in Switzerland, and I had a lower back pain, and I suffered that lower back pain for 20 days. My dear, I did not go to the office for 25 days. That's when I realized that, look, if I'm out, if I'm no more today, the world will move on. For 25 days, I was going to the physiotherapy. I didn't think about business. I didn't think about office. I didn't think about money. I was thinking about myself. So we must, it's important for us to take care of ourselves, strike a work balance, know when to work, know when to recreate, to exercise, eat healthy, and then also have some time for your family and your friends. That's very important for us to avoid that burnout. Another thing that I would like to talk about is when we fail to invest in our employees, right, and building the right organizational culture, because it doesn't matter. There's a saying, I think by Peter Drucker, that culture eats strategy for breakfast. You can hire the best brains and bring them into your business, right? They could be high flyers, but when they get in and they realize that you have only hired them to just make money and bring results to the company, that you're paying little or no attention to their own personal development, then you will lose it. Right. So as an entrepreneur, it is important, if you want your business to run, invest in the personal development of your team members. Right. If you have to spend money to send them on trainings in relevant areas, do so. If you must ensure they have the necessary tools, right, by all means do so. Because when you do not invest in them, then you are creating avenue for a non-sustainable business, business. So that's why it's important for you to invest in them and ensure that they can get, the necessary support, the right support. And one other way to do that, especially if you're an entrepreneur, is to let your team members have little stakes or shares in the business. Now, do you know what that does? Wow. Now, someone knows that at the end of the month, he only gets salary, okay, and maybe overtime pays and all of that. But what about an individual who knows that at the end of the year, when dividends are declared, he can get something as a part owner of that business? It doesn't hurt you to say, oh, okay, I want to give the senior managers in this company 1% share in the business, 2% share in the business, depending on how big the business is. At the end of the day, you probably wouldn't give more than 10%, or 15% in all. Now, what that does is it says to the team member, the employee, that I am a stakeholder, I am a shareholder, I'm a part owner of the business. So it's a huge, in fact, that is the best investment that you can make to the team member. That team member begins to see himself as a part owner of that business. So everything he or she does, he does as though I'm doing it for myself, for my business, for my future, the future of my family, and the future, of my enterprise. So we must think about that way and ensure that we, open up a little space for some of these employees to invest. So that's one other area. And let me not talk about when we, as entrepreneurs, focus so much on the day-to-day running of the business, right? You want to check, every dime that comes into the bank account. When they want to probably buy a fuel for the office vehicles, you want the paper to come to your table to sign, and then when the car comes, you want to go to check the fuel gauge to see where the fuel is. And then every month you're tracking the internet and what is being used. You come into the office, you want to check the water. You're taking everything yourself. Oh, come on. There's too much attachment. So one thing you can do is running day to day again is you can outsource some of these things, okay? Or you have specific individuals do specific things in the office. This is a bit different from like delegating responsibility, but this has to do with some of the things you should not focus on. As an entrepreneur, someone who innovated a business idea and you're running it, part of the things you should focus on is big ideas, right? Big ideas. So if you put a structure in place, one other pitfall is, not having a structure, where everybody knows what he or she does, and then set a system that automatically ensure that the end of the month is this reported. Part of what we introduce in our office is to have, what I call that. It's like a structure that gives us a timeline of what we do. So we know the total number of customers we are dealing with. We know where our dealing with them is without sending a proposal. Have they responded? Have we sent in the quotation? Have we had a meeting? Have we got a PO? Go ahead to the business. And someone is responsible for each of that. So each month when we meet, each person knows what he or she is supposed to do. Our reports on that, and we don't have to struggle too much about that. And that's for us. It's very important. Now, another thing which is important, I'm going to try to round this part off soon, is we must learn from failures and we must learn from people who have gone the road before. Not having a mentor is one big disadvantage of an entrepreneur, right? Because it doesn't matter what sector or area you want to go into, someone must have attempted something there before. It might not have done it successfully or as innovatively as you want to do. Okay, so it's important to ensure, to avoid making some mistakes, identify a mentor. And one thing you must pay attention to when you identify a mentor is the mentor must be available. Availability is very important, right? The mentor must have experience in that particular area that you seek to journey, into. That's number two. Then the mentor must also be able to give attention to you. So apart from being available, so there's some who are available, but it's like quick, fast. Let's get this thing done and let's get out. So you must identify a mentor of contact and then learn from their experiences, right? Learn from their failure, the mistake they have made, and see how that can help you in building your own business. And that's one thing that we need to look at. Let me talk a little about when you do not understand and comply with some regulations, because some people take that for granted. So in every business client or in every economy or country, there are regulations, rights, and requirements, legal requirements for those who run business. For example, you register your business to do a particular thing. And because you've seen that there is a boom in a particular area, you decide to jump into it without having the requisite registration, expertise, and certification. That's also a pitfall. I've had businesses that were shut down because there was some infringement. Either they were not paying their correct taxes, or they didn't have the right licenses or certification to run in certain areas. People get into trouble. And what that can do, it can slow down your business, or sometimes you can even have a total shutdown, right?
Yeah.
We run a company in a Bergamonte concept, and I can say that since we started that business, we have not done one single government job, not a single government job. But I can tell you that we ensure that we are on the right side of the law all the time. So apart from ensuring that you get tax clearance certificate, we're ensuring that we do our annual returns, we file the annual returns. We're ensuring that we pay for what we call the NSITF, we're paying for ITF, we're making the VATs are remitted, all of that. The reason is because someday you could get to a point where you want to do something big, and this, documents becomes a requirement. You don't need to struggle to get them, right? And so even what we call premises levy, something as little as premises levy we show. Okay, we ensure we pay them, as I went due. That's very important. So you must understand the legal requirements in the environment that you operate, right? That could be a very big pitfall, because if the hammer, is dropped on your business and you're caught unawares, you could suffer huge consequences. I want to talk about where the world is going today. AI is becoming a big thing, right? And the use of technology for any entrepreneur who is not looking into that and learning and advancing in that area, you might get to a point where your business and your ideas will go into extinction. That's where we're going. So technology is very important, and it doesn't cost anything to invest some little funds to, do use of technology in your business. It makes it quicker, it makes it seamless. It gives a lot of accuracy, and it puts you on the right speed of the business you want to do. So some entrepreneurs, because they've got great ideas, they want to remain purely traditional, right? And they will tell you, no, this is an idea I have some 20 years ago. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, and the business has never failed. That the business has never failed is not a guarantee that it cannot fail in the future, right?
Yeah.
And as the world is evolving, you must evolve with it. A typical example is what happened during COVID, right? There were people who thought that things were going to continue to be traditional. And if you check some of those companies that survived so much, there were people who were
They
futuristic
have.
about technology, about innovation. And so when that happened, it didn't take so much energy for them to switch immediately and start doing things virtually, and they were still, in fact, some people made more money during COVID, than others. But there were people who were there whining and praying and wishing that COVID goes away so they can come back, but they didn't want to, step a foot forward to learn new ideas and use of technology to get their businesses better. So this is one pitfall that you must also avoid. You need to ask yourself, how can you use technology to become more innovative in your business, and see how that can help you in the things that you do. And it's critically important when you fail to understand that technology is the way to go. And I can assure you, in the next 3 to 5 years, those who do not understand the importance of technology will probably, go out of business, and that's important. Then let me talk about maybe the last one, or the last but one, what I call long-term sustainability, right? Some entrepreneurs get into their business, and within 2 to 3 years, the business is doing so very well, so very well, right? And so their focus is on that short term, right? It's doing well now, let's just get money. They are not thinking the long term, right? What's going to happen, when I'm no more here? What's going to happen if I decide to sell this business tomorrow? What's going to happen if I decide to bring in partners tomorrow? They don't have what we call the exit strategy or exit plan. They just think about the now, the now, the now. And that is one big pitfall. And so what happens is, some of them have a lot of money, capitals, coming in. And because they see that the business is making a lot of money, right? So they decide to spend the money in the way and manner that it's unacceptable, right? Because they believe that they've got it right and it's going to continue that way. They're not thinking sustainability. Now, something could happen. It could be an epidemic, it could be economic policies, it could even be environmental issues. Unfortunately, what's happening in Los Angeles and Palisade today, the fire incident that
Yeah.
took place there, and all of that, things could happen. Like there could be, force measures that can happen, and if your business is not adequately insured, you may not get funds. So in such situations, what happens? So an entrepreneur should never live only for the now and for today. You need to plan for sustainability. That's very important. So not thinking sustainably is a pitfall. And one way to navigate around that is to have a plan and say, okay, am I going to have more investors, more partners in the future? When am I expecting to do this? And what kind of partners or investors do I need? Is there a possibility that I could sell this company in the future? How do I grow it to a point where I get a great offer, right? I was watching something a few days ago, and was talking about how, I don't want to mention them, some of the world's biggest companies, right? Wanted to buy a particular another business, and they were made an offer, and they said no, this is too much, we cannot pay it. And then the business they wanted to buy, became so big, even bigger than they are. And they regretted, oh, we should have bought it in the first place, because they didn't plan. They were just thinking about, oh, we're number one, we're the champions, we're the best at the moment. But things happen. If you look at some of the biggest companies in the world today, whether you go from Amazon, whether you want to talk to Microsoft, whether you want to talk about SpaceX of Elon Musk, or you want to talk about Facebook of Mark Zuckerberg and all of that, if you look at where they're coming from and where they are today, I'm sure if you go and read it, I read one a few days ago, there were times when some big money bags and billionaires felt that these companies were not going to be profitable, and they didn't want to invest them, they didn't want to buy them. But today,
Yeah.
I'm not sure any of them, can buy this. So we need to be futuristic, we need to think about that. That's very important, in what we're doing as entrepreneurs. And finally, I want to talk about goal setting. Don't forget that In December, we talked about goal setting. When you don't set the right goals and have your schedules properly cut out, you could be what I call a scattered entrepreneur. Sorry, but a scattered entrepreneur. So what it means is sometimes you get to the office, you have too many things to do. You do this one half, you jump to the other one, you're doing the half, and then you do everything haphazardly. You don't complete anything. So part of what that does to help you to prioritize is to set what we discussed in transformative goals, set the goals and then prioritize it. One thing that affects me as a person is I have a scheduler. So when I get to the office each day, I list the things I need to do in order of priority. Before, what happens is if I start with the first one and I can get a call from a customer and it has to do with number 6, and I leave the first one and I jump to number 6, and before I know it, I go to number 8 and I forgot the most important thing. So what I've learned to do is that discipline to stay with one thing and try to finish it. It's not easy. So I still struggle a bit with it, but I have improved a lot. Stay with one thing, finish it. So if you have 10 things you want to accomplish in a day, and number 1 is priority number 1, try to deal with that and finish, put it out of the way, and then go to number 2. Don't get to a point where you have to abandon number 1 and go to number 8, and then come back to number 6. Before you know it, you have done what we call the unimportant but maybe urgent things. So the important and urgent things must be done first, okay? Not unimportant and what you consider urgent. The urgent things that are not very important should be delegated. But entrepreneurship be dedicated and then focus on what we consider important and urgent. I think I may have to slow here, and I want to say that this list is not exhaustive, to be quite honest. There are quite a number of pitfalls that entrepreneurs encounter. But I just want to summarize this part by saying, when you want to get into your entrepreneurial venture, or even when, it's important for you to imagine what the worst case scenario could be. I want to repeat that again, right? People say, oh, you must have a fantastic business plan. I agree. Business plan is very helpful, very, very important. But there's no guarantee that the business plan will not fail. It's not written anywhere that the best business plan is a guarantee for a great business. And what happens, and let me say this again before I forget. One other pitfall, very important one of the pitfalls is when the entrepreneur focuses so much on competition. When you focus so much on competition. Yes, I wanted to say that. It's very important. Now, so you get into a sector of business and you're running it, and you've decided how you want to proceed. But each time you are looking at the competition to know where it is, and then you're measuring yourself against the competition. So competition does A today, you do B, it does C, you do D. It's like you're just running against the competition. What that does, sometimes it takes you away from that great goal, that great vision that you have to set for yourself. It's important to have your eyes on the competition, no doubt about that. But do not constantly measure your progress against the competition, right? There's a big difference between having a good business or being a good entrepreneur and being a great entrepreneur. They are two different things, right? So great is sustainable over time. You build a business that is a great business over time. But when you say a good business, it could just be a good business for 1 or 2 years. But great businesses are businesses that last, right? That's why you can see some companies today, 50 years, 80 years, 100 years, they are still functional working. Those are great businesses. And you can see some business that are only 5, 7 years, 10 years, and they're doing well. These are good business. You cannot call them great business because they have not been tested, right? When you hit 50, you're going to 80, 100 years, you can say you're a great business. So the focus is to build a great business and not just a competitive business or a good business. So it's important to have your eyes, again, like I said, on the competition, but don't be so worried about where the competitor is going, and lose focus of your own bigger vision. That's a great pitfall, and sometimes people do that, and entrepreneurs also do that. Temi, I would like to pause here at the moment. Those are some of the pitfalls, and we must be careful to avoid them as much as possible. Yes.
Awesome. I should, what's the word now? I should say I'm overwhelmed, because you said a lot, and then I think you've answered most of the questions I have here already, and that's awesome. I just want you to narrow down and speak to entrepreneurs that are just starting out. You mentioned so many things about putting structures into your business. Looking at someone, let's say someone like me, and I'm just starting out as an entrepreneur. I don't have enough money to employ people. I can even give, you mentioned something like a dividend. I don't even know what dividend is. I'm just saying, for instance, or the salary I intend to pay is not so much, and I still want my staff to be as committed to some level as I am to the business. How will you speak to that, sir?
Thank you. You know, when you are the visioner, as the entrepreneur, you are the visioner, right? You're the one, you sat down to think through the business idea. You've carved a vision, you have done a research. As an entrepreneur, one thing you must be able to do is to see, um, where your business will be in 5 years from today, right? Now,
Mm,
sometimes you may not necessarily get there in 5 years, but what that does is what I call a desirable future. It's like a vision. You say, okay, in 5 years, this is where I want to be. What that helps you do is to answer the question, if and when you get to that desirable future, how does it make you feel, right? Excited.
mm,
So that excitement, that vision of getting to that point becomes a driving force to you to work hard to ensure that you get to that point, because there's what you want. When we talk about pain state and dream state, right? So the dream state is a desirable future, and for you to get there, there must be a reason, there must be a why, and that why is when I get there, this is how it makes me feel. So when you look at the vision and when you capture the vision, right? One way to get your team members committed is to share the vision with them. Don't just say,
mm,
I want to start this business, please come and join me. It's not enough. You've seen where the business is going in 5 years, in 10 years, maybe even in 3 years, which is a short term. Sit down and let them see that. And then, get their buy-in. If they get their buy-in and they believe in that vision, then what you pay them becomes secondary, right?
mm,
So when they buy into that vision and you say you don't know what the dividend is, every registered business, for example, must have a share structure. So one other thing to do is say, okay, part of your commitment or investment is your expertise. There are people who invest expertise. They don't have money to put in, but they say if you are looking at setting up a proper structure, if you are looking at using technology to innovate and make the business grow faster and get more clients and reach out, to more people, I have it. That's all I can bring in. So the guy is bringing in that, and then you agree and say, okay, this is what you're bringing in. It translates to 2%, 5%,
mm,
10% of the business, right? That's one way to get them in, right? So they can believe, but they must key into that vision. The other thing to do is say, okay, I don't have all the money. If you have some friends who have great ideas, you can plead with them to give a bit of their time to what you're doing, on part-time basis, right? Some of them, if you build a net, and that's why network is important. I forgot to mention that network.
mm,
There are entrepreneurs who have great business ideas. They start up, but they don't have network. And they say your network is your net worth. Everything starts with them. They don't have organizations where they belong to. They don't have business associations, commerce, chamber of commerce organizations. They don't do trade business. They don't attend conferences and events. So how are you going to get better, right? So number two thing, you can talk to a friend who can do that for you. On FOB, what's called free of FOC, free of charge basis, on a part time, right? Who believes in you? That's number two. Number three thing you can do is say, okay, you want to start small, right? Now you have the idea. If there are things you don't have money to invest in, you don't have people who are able to bring their expertise and take a share, you don't have friends who can do it free. It's okay. Let me start gradually. The ones that you can do, you start taking it one step at a time. And then,
mm.
and not be so fast and so quick. You have the idea where you're going, but you want to take it step by step because there are some constraints. The constraint could be finances, the constraint could be, the right expertise and those who have ideas in some other areas. Then another thing you can do is you can also seek for funding. There are a couple of people. If it's an innovative idea, like a social entrepreneurship idea, then you can, of course, seek funding, crowdfunding. There are people who are willing to put in their money if they believe what you're doing is for greater good, right? If it is not purely commercialized, they can put in their money and they can use that money to pay those you want to bring in. They can use that money to do additional research. You can use that money to outsource things that you want to do, as long as you are accountable. Because when people, putting money into social enterprise, accountability is very, very important. And I've seen people who got money and then they did almost nothing with it. So those are a couple of the options that you can look at, in getting that to work.
All right. Thank you so much for that. I have a question here from CD Kingpen, and I believe that you've already spoken to it, but I would allow you to say one or two things about that. He said, I would like to ask this, how can we translate all of this to service rather than product?
Yes. Well, when you talk about product are physical, tangible items, that you supply. But services are to a large extent intangible, right? And they're not products. For example, if I am asked to come and develop, an interactive website, right? And where people can place orders, buy things, do the community and grow it, right? This is an intangible, so it's a service, it's a template, it's a service. So the process is the same. The entrepreneur, right, will have to
Yeah.
go through the same step because at the end of the day, whether it is physical, tangible products or an intangible service that you render, the approach is the same. Right? And translating into what does it mean? It's for you, first of all, like I said, you must have a vision of what you want to do. It's very important. And whether it is the pitfall of burnout, whether it is non-prioritization, whether it is premature diversification, they all happen to entrepreneurs who offer tangible products, services, and those who do not. So for me, there's no difference. It's just for you to understand what direction you're going. The business we started in 2017. I said, oh, we jumped in quickly. We are bringing in machines, right? Production machines from overseas. And we thought, oh, these guys are going to pick them up. And we started bringing these machines. We realized that no, the needs of the clients were not truly understood by us. And some person started, oh, no, this machine you brought is not the right spec. It should have been this type. It should have been this type.
Wow.
But we felt, we wanted to bring it in. So if you're going to render the service that is intangible, it is the same idea. It is the same approach. The only difference is it is not physical product. It's an idea product. Right.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I think that answers the question about product, about service, rather than product. I also want to ask you, you have mentioned one mistake you made about bringing in products into the country. But I also want you to give us an example of another mistake you made in your journey as an entrepreneur, and you had to unlearn, then learn and overcome the mistake,
Okay.
especially when dealing with your staffs. Very, very important.
Okay. Well, I'll take it from two angles. First, so let's look at as I'm speaking to you, just in 2024, this past year, we made the decision to shut two areas of our business. Another company, completely shut it. So you talked about learn, unlearn, and relearn. This has come from experience. When you look at a particular area of business and you're not cut out for it, you don't have passion for it. If what has driven you into that business is purely aspect the profit or the benefit you may make a mistake. We started a business, and I realized that while the business looked very lucrative and could bring money, but I was struggling for it. In fact, I said to somebody somewhere in December 2024 that if I have to continue with this business, I have to be a mad person to be able to do it. And I don't want to be mad now. Yes, because the business of somebody,
Wow.
you have to act like a mad person to run that. It is energy sapping, it's time consuming. It's detracts you from a lot of things. You could get a call by midnight, by 2 a.m. about a challenge. In one of the sites, and you're expected to get up there and start making calls. I've gone to some sites before in dangerous places, and I have to leave those places after midnight. Too risky and all of that.
Wow.
So part of what you talked about is I had to look at, back when you talk about unlearning, the reason why we started the business. And I realized that the motive behind it was not right. Okay? So first I have to say to myself it was a wrong motive. Right. So that's the unlearning part to take that up. It wasn't the right thing to do. And then I said, okay, now what do you need to do about it? You can decide, okay, you want to change approach. But I realized that changing approach was not the best. It's better to shut it down and focus on the little things that I can do. And that's what we did. We shut it down painfully, but we had to shut it down. So it's part of those experiences. When it comes to the staff, people you deal with, right? One thing I do, and maybe it's a weakness, is once it involves individuals, I'm working with someone, maybe the person is not being as productive. Some people may be very quick. They say, okay, you're not being productive, you're queried. Once you're queried, second time, I let you go, you're sacked. But, the human part of me, which is not really what business and entrepreneurship is, what that does sometimes is, I start thinking about the individual's family, what's going to happen if the person is fired, and so it takes me a long time to be able to make a decision to let that individual, off and for the person to go. And now I'm learning that, look, it's important for you to give a long look. It's important for you to encourage the individual. But when the individual is not productive, is consuming a lot, they'll know what we call the company's cost on the individual. When you hire somebody and you're paying the salary and everything, for example, if you're going to pay pension, there's a contribution from the company and there's one from the staff. So when you check the entire cost of this staff to the company is so high and there's nothing coming in, you have to get to that point where you have to let an individual go. But you must also be justifying yourself that you provided all the tools the individual needs. You provided all the motivation. You've tried yourself to ensure the individual has a good working environment and all of that before you make that decision. So there are things you need to relearn, and it doesn't matter how long you've been in entrepreneurship. There are things you can learn. In fact, the entrepreneurship is a journey. There's no zenith. And that's why when you look at someone like Elon Musk, with all the money he's made, he's still exploring, he's still being adventurous, he's still experimenting hugely, putting the money on all. He could as well say, okay, I'll go home, I have over $400 billion. I mean, my 20th generation won't have that money available. But you see, he's an entrepreneur that's innovative. He's not satisfied with what he has accomplished. He believes that there's still a lot more that can come out of his brain and those of his team members, and that's why he continues to go into that. So we must continue to let go old ideas that are not working. Say to ourselves that those ideas were wrong, and say to ourselves that we made a mistake. So that we failed in that, and it's not failure in the sense of failure, and then pick up again, and just relearn, and then launch ourselves again. But we must always focus on what we have passion for, what we have expertise for, and avoid a quick and hasty diversifications.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for those that are dropping questions, and thank you for staying true to this moment. I also have another question before me, but before I ask that question, I would like you to speak to this. I have an idea going on in my head, and you mentioned that you were bringing products to Nigeria at some point. I want to ask, how do you identify opportunities? I believe that there are some of us right here, or might be watching this later, that feel that they don't have money to start business, but they are open to opportunities. So how do you identify opportunities in relationship, then you convert it to business? I don't know if my question is clear, sir.
Yeah, I think it is. So first, let's look at this. We exist in an environment. We operate in an economy, right? If you take Nigeria, for example, today, the question you ask is, what are the biggest issues? What are the biggest challenges? I always say that when you live in an environment and you are not conscious of that environment to know what's going on, what the challenge, and you live your life as though it's going to end today, then you are not living in that environment. So one way to identify opportunities, like you said, is look at what's going on and say, what are the issues? What are the challenges? And what are the likely solutions? So first is what I call, self-interrogation. You need to interrogate yourself, you need to ask yourself, what am I doing at the moment? Where can I find the opportunities? Now, let me tell you one great thing. Just a few days ago, about 3 days ago, we succeeded in supporting an individual to travel to a foreign country for work. And this is legal work. 3 years of work. And how did this individual get this opportunity? I will explain to you. I have some partners, foreign partners, who said to me, they are looking to employ an architect and a welder, a welding specialist, for example. But they must be graduates because the job they're going to do are, graduate jobs. And they came into this country. Before they came, I dropped these opportunities on the few platforms where I belong. So one of my friends picked it up and then dropped it in his old boys association, and somebody there picked it up and sent his CV to this my friend. My friend forwarded it to me. And when these my partners came and they had an interview, they decided that this individual is the person they want to pick. My question there to you is, where did they find the opportunity? Because he belonged to an association.
Wow.
There are some of us who spend so much of our time, on social media, our phone, we're pressing all the time. But some of us do not belong. In fact, we don't get involved in our old boys, alumni, trade association. I mean, there are quite a number of associations that are trade-related business with opportunities, that they drop there all the time. But we don't want to belong to those because we believe, we're running a business, so we want to start a business. Where do you see the opportunity? That young man saw that opportunity. I didn't know him from Ada. I didn't know him from anywhere. He got an opportunity. I supported him, with the team. And today he had traveled to go and work for 3 years, first instance. He didn't pay one dime to us. He was not charged anything, but he saw the opportunity and he took it because he was present, he was active. If he didn't belong, he's one of those who just get himself into the group. They don't check what's happening in the group at all. He would have missed the opportunity. So that's one way, okay? You need to look at, your cycle. What friends you keep, how useful are they to you? Because some of us have friends who probably are interested in fun. We go some places together, we have fun, and that's it. But how often do you sit down, with your friends and talk business and talk ideas? If you have an idea, you bounce it off your friends, and this is what I'm thinking. And that's why sometimes the best way to give life to an idea is not to conceive by yourself. You break your head. No, share it with some close friends. And if you have 3-4 persons bringing their own perspective to it, that idea can be reached quickly and can turn into something else. So my advice is to see opportunities, right? You may not have the money, and the example I gave, someone who get a job, there are other opportunities where people want to provide funding, where they're looking for partners, where they're asking, okay, I want to start a new business, I have the fund, I have the idea, I have the network, but I don't know anything about branding. I don't know anything about social media marketing. I don't know how to geolocate customers. So opportunities can come in. So my advice is get yourself involved in useful associations. If you belong to WhatsApp group, belong to ones that are useful and know what's going on there and be part of it. There are opportunities everywhere. If you hear about trade events, exhibitions going on in your city or somewhere, spend the money, go there, interact and find out what's happening. Particularly if it's in areas where you have interest. You cannot sit in your home, with all the great ideas and then it will just die with you. So yes, that's what I'm going to talk say with respect to that particular one.
Okay, thank you so much for that. That was awesome. That was a perfect answer to the question. So I will take this question and that will be all for today. In the next 4 minutes or 5 minutes, we'll round up this session. Thank you so much so far for staying through with us. So the person says, thank you for this. Okay, he said, my question is, at what point can you diversify in terms of service rendering?
Okay, so first, the question to ask is, when you render service, what is the objective? What is the goal, right? And, first, you need to understand that there's a vision. And when you have a vision, you come up with the mission. Mission is like action step, what you need to do to accomplish that vision. And let me say, maybe I also forgot to mention it there. Sometimes we lack what I call measurability in the things we do. We set a vision, we now have a mission, to accomplish it. And then 6 months passes, 1 year passes, we don't go back and say, what metrics are we using to measure our progress? You have some KPIs, or OKRs that you want to accomplish. And OKR actually mean objectives and key results, right? Which is what some people use in place of KPIs. So you have started as an entrepreneur, you are rendering service, like the question says. And are you able to measure the level of satisfaction from your clients from the service that you render? That's one way to check if and when you should diversify. So Do you have enough customers or clients to sustain the business? Because sometimes most entrepreneurs, their businesses survive because of 2 or 3 customers, but the rest are just not there, they are not there. If those 2 or 3 customers pull out, the business crumbles. So if your business is dependent on 2 or 3 customers, please do not attempt to diversify. Even if you're rendering service, do not attempt. Because there could be other entrepreneurs or businesses, poaching those clients of yours. And if you're not careful, they take 1 or 2 out and you go. So you must ask yourself, what number of clients would I have to say I have come to a point of stability? That's number 1. But it's not just about the number of clients. You must also be able to check their satisfaction. That's why feedback is important. I was also forgot to mention that, some entrepreneurs do not handle criticisms. Every time they're defensive about their business. If you give an opinion that is not very positive about their business, they go on the defense. They say, no, that's not our business. Don't be defensive, right? And one way to help you is to ask for feedback from your clients. When your client gives you feedback and the feedbacks are positive and you have come to a point of stability in terms of the number of clients you have, then you can start thinking about diversification, even in your service. What that does is you're diversifying, but please don't diversify in the area that is a sharp contrast from what you're doing. So it's like a value chain, right? So if, for example, your service is you are providing an e-commerce platform, and the only thing they do is a payment solution, right? You can ask, okay, you don't have expertise, in trading people who use that e-commerce platform. So you're moving away completely. It's like, a value chain. You're adding value to that. And after you can say, okay, apart from providing that, you're also having engineers, who can fix some of the machines or items that these people who use your platform. So you must continually diversify in areas that are connected with the business you're doing before you move sharply completely away. So as to the question, at what point should you diversify? I've said first, you need to measure your progress, right? So have a metrics in place to measure your progress. Number 2, you must be able to gauge what number of customers you will have to say we are stable now. Number 2, you need to get feedback from your customers to see how they feel. If 75, 80, 90% of those feedbacks are very positive, then you can say you are doing well. You have now carved a niche for yourself. You have established, a strong presence, and then you can think about diversification. Until then, it is too risky to diversify because you can actually lose those customers either through competition or one customer can feel that is dissatisfied and tell another one. There's a saying that every customer who feels dissatisfied will tell like 10 others. But those who feel very satisfied might just tell only 2. Yes, so you must be careful to manage them. So don't think about diversification until you go through those 3 steps. And please handle criticisms and ask for feedbacks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I believe that answered the question. So before I take this last question, this will be the last question I will take. Please, if you're on this live session, take a screenshot of what you are saying. Take a screenshot on your phone, then send it to the WhatsApp group you belong to. I believe most of these people are on the WhatsApp group. If you are not on the WhatsApp group, you can just go to Senator Pascal's bio and you see the link there to join the WhatsApp group. So take a screenshot, drop it on the WhatsApp group so that they will know that something, we actually held the live session. So I will take the last question. Please, no question after this because of time. This person said, what do you do in cases where, and this is very, very funny because I know that, sir, you've had this experience before and you shared the story. I watched a video where you shared the story. He said, what do you do in cases where your very trained staff leaves the company after so much investment in training them? And this could be very painful. Please stick to this, sir.
What a very interesting question. And that's why I said, as an entrepreneur, you must, anticipate worst case scenario, right? Because if you invest so much and train a staff, and after a few months, the staff just leaves, it's a huge shock, and you may find it difficult to want to invest in another staff to train. But, as an entrepreneur, one of the things I have learned is Um, I have a good shock absorbing system. So even before I send the individual out for training, I had thought that this individual could leave.
Mm.
So part of what I didn't do there was to sign um, like a bond and say, okay, if you come back from training, you're going to work for us for 2 or 3 years. And I didn't do that at the time. And it's part of what I say, you have to learn from people's failures, from people's mistakes, right? And then the individual traveled, was sent to an Asian country, a lot of money invested, so it's personal experience. And then after 5 or 6 months, the individual comes back, I'm leaving because I have to go pursue my career,
Wow.
in a foreign land. And I wished him very well. And we're still in touch. He still
Wow.
thinks I'm his boss. We are very well related. There are no love lost. Very, very still connected. You know, but that happens, right? Now, we're in the process of probably doing the same thing with 3 other young persons. We're going to send out for training. But now, because of that past experience, what we have done is okay. We're going to foot the bill, everything, 100%. Even our partnering company over there is even going to pay salaries to them, even though they have been trained, right? And we said, okay, in order for us to be on the same page, we need to agree on certain things. So when you come back, you will be able to work for this company for X, Y, Z number of years. If you feel okay with that, let's proceed. And they agreed and we signed it. But there are people who renege on things like that. So if you want to make it strong, make it legal, don't just sign it, get a lawyer to do it. And make it so legal that you can hold the individual to account if the person reneges. So but it does not stop me. And believe me, even if these individuals go come back and renege, and we'll try to get them to comply with the bond, and it still will not stop me from looking to invest in people's training, whether it's within this country or outside. Because let me tell you, the best set of employees you should have are employees that have what we call the entrepreneurial mindset, right? They don't own business, they don't own the business, but they work in your company as though they own the business. They work in your company as though they are business owners. So employees with the
Mm.
entrepreneurial mindset are the best for you. And if you have them and you need to invest in them, by all means invest. But like I said, you learn from failure, do whatever you can to ensure that you have some kind of bond or some legal binding understanding that they will be able to give back to the company, for some time before they can exit. That's important. So I learned from that experience. I decided to do differently this time around.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, will you be angry? Sir? I don't understand this question, but that would be all for today. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I understand that it's short beyond 1 hour a little, but I believe it's value for your time. I want you to give should I say, closing note, give an advice to everyone that is going to come across this video. You've mentioned so many things I've noted today. As a matter of fact, I've learned a whole lot. Despite the access, the privilege to relationship with you, today I'm learning a new, it's a whole lot entirely for me. You've mentioned relationship, joining groups, and being active in a community, which we are also building. If you are part of the community, I encourage you to be very active in the community. And also ensuring that you have friends you can discuss business with, share ideas with your friends, and also, attend conferences, attend programs, be part of what is going on in your community, especially in a niche you belong to. And a program like this, live sessions like this, could help you, could answer some questions that are very, very, should I say, peculiar to you or your business. So I want you to give a parting word, say something to our audience. What would be your parting word, sir, after all you've said?
Thank you very much. So first, I'd like to thank those of us who found the time to join. I would like to say specifically, if you are looking to become an entrepreneur, or if you are already on your entrepreneurial journey, and the motivation was the money, the money, the money, then you need to rethink it. You need to rethink it. I always tell people, the first thing you must think about when you want to get into a business as an entrepreneur is to ask the question of why. What's your motivation? Why do you want to
Mm.
do it? Right. That's number one. Number two, can you connect that why to your passion? Right? Can you connect to your passion? The answer is yes. Then well, that will help you develop, a strong ambition to ensure that that business does not fail. That's important, and be rest assured that as an entrepreneur, definitely there will be pitfalls. I've had my hand on several. I used to tell that I ran a particular business for 11 months without making one dime in it. And a few times, my personal savings from my business, previous employment, right? But what I did was to continually remind them about the vision, and that helped even started, getting truly into the business. They realized why, and they have learned perseverance from me. They have learned what it means to stay the course with me. They have learned that I'm not a quitter. I don't quit. I don't give up. On things, especially when I believe in it, I stay. My shock absorbing system is unbelievably at the optimum, right? I'm hardly shaken by anything because I've seen quite a lot. So you need to build yourself, you need to prop yourself up to that point and say, if I start business, I have done the business plan, I've done everything. But what if it doesn't go right? What am I going to do? So you need to think that way. With that mindset, when it happens, you just smile and say, well, I thought about it. And then, I always use Who Moved My Cheese, the two little people and the two mice as an example. If they were always coming to the cheese station every day. And the little people thought they were smarter than the mice because they saw themselves as people. But each day when they come to that cheese station, the mice realized that the cheese dump was declining, was reducing. But the little people who should be smart didn't notice that. So the two mice had already made plan B. They found another cheese station, knowing that one day the cheese will not be there. So they don't have to struggle. So one morning they all four came there, and there was no cheese. So the two mice looked at themselves, smiled to each other, and moved on again because they knew where they were going. They found an alternative. But the two little people were there, whining and crying and praying and fasting and binding that the cheese station should, the cheese should come back. It will never come back, right? So that's how entrepreneurs think. You must anticipate. You must plan for those shocks, and decide how you want to think about it. And when you get on that journey, like I said, don't do it alone. Don't be the financial director, the operations director, logistics director. You think, you act, you narrate, you execute everything. If you do that, you will burn yourself out, I can tell you. Learn to trust people. I tell you, look, for your team, let them think, let them see, let them experiment, let them lead, let them manage, let them fail. It's important. When they go through these 6 processes, they come back stronger, and you can decide to go on holiday and your business is running on autopilot because some persons believe in that business and they are making it work. That's what we think about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I also realized that most of the things you said in this live session were very, very simple. Very simple, but most times we miss out on those small details like mindset, like allowing your team members to think on their own, allowing them to fail. Some of us help or try to help our team members to avoid failure, but at the other end of it, we are depriving them of the privilege to learn and also develop themselves. Thank you so much for this, sir. I really appreciate it. I'm sure it's been value for our time. Thank you so much. I'm going to end it here today. Expect more of this as we try to create time, and as Senator Pascal also tried to create time to be available for us. Thank you so much. Have a blessed weekend. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate your time, sir.
My pleasure, and thank you for moderating this. Temi, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being part of it.
Awesome. All right, so what we'll do is that we'll release this video on his YouTube platform. If you don't know, you can also check his bio. The YouTube link is there. Do well to subscribe, do well to follow him. If you want to connect with me also, I'm sure very open. So subscribe to his YouTube channel so that you can have the full video, so that you can rewatch and get the most of the video. So I will end it here. Thank you so much to our audience. Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it.